We are.
All right, it's 7 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Stephanie, lead us, or be here for today's prayer.
Pray with me. God, we thank you for the blessing it is to be here in this community. We thank you for all the many things you do for us. Lord, we're greatly blessed with a great community, a great school, exceptional teachers and staff. And Lord, we just ask your blessing upon each one of them as they lead in this school. And Lord, we ask your blessing upon our students to just continue to watch over them and guide them. And Lord, may they see you in the actions that happen in this place. And Lord, may they grow up to know you and to be examples for you in the worlds that they go out into. Lord, we lift up this time in this meeting. May the decisions that are made here honor and glorify you. And we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
And we'll start off with public comments.
Thanks, Samantha. The floor is yours,
I didn't
ma'am.
know if y'all wanted to recognize the kids first, but I'll go ahead and get started. First of all, thank you for your time. I just want to kind of give you a little bit of background information. For my current position, I oversee everything reported to the state. We currently have 12,500 students. So that includes all of their grades. Currently have 1,298 seniors. I supervise our high school registrars, which are responsible for updating, verifying the accuracy of students' high school transcripts, certifying students for graduation. Our registrars are responsible for making sure everything on these students' transcripts are correct. Ensuring that transcripts are accurate and up to date, it's critically important, especially when applying to colleges, scholarships, or any other academic programs, because these serve as an official record. Think about applying for a job. You've got a nice, pretty resume, and that is what your transcript is. You want everything on there that you could possibly have. Currently, James Board policy states the district shall record unweighted numerical grades on a student's transcript. So what does that mean? For those of you that don't know, we take what the student earns in the class. So you earn a 98, take all the grades, add them up, divide them by the number of grades. We also have what's called weighted grades. So there are certain classes, I know band gets 5 points added for band 3 and 4. Accounting gets 5 points. Physics, pre-cal. So all of those are what we call weighted grades. Any dual credit course gets 10 points added to it. Most schools, scholarship committees, everybody's there looking at that because it defines the rigor of the course. Is this course college ready? Can these students read and write at a college level? So when you're using a 5-point weighted GPA scale, you can have up to 5 points for your GPA. We use the numerical, which means we go on 0 to 100, 105, whatever a student gets. What we use is unweighted. So what I'm asking is that the board consider using both the weighted grades on a 5-point scale and the unweighted numerical grades. That's what we do. That's what almost every school in the state does. They put both on there. You want to see the best of the best. Look at this kid on paper. So as students are applying for these merit-based scholarship programs, that weighted GPA plays a significant role in the evaluations. If our kids are submitting this unweighted number, everybody else is submitting weighted. How do our kids look when you're comparing them? We look less than. So potentially that could be thousands of dollars being lost. I saw the number up there, $25,000 already in college scholarships. I know my child alone is eligible for more if our high school register will put his weighted GPA on the transcript. And it's not that hard. When I say, like I said, 1,300 seniors. If I have a parent call me and say, hey, I need this adjusted for this upcoming scholarship, can y'all go ahead and add this? We add it. That's 1,300 seniors. We're making those changes as calls come in. It's talking about the rigor. Where we're not including it, you know, our students look less than on paper. We're shorting them. And scholarship committees, they rely on that information as it's kind of like your job application. Tell me everything that's good about you. Without the weighted GPA, our students may unintentionally be placed at this disadvantage when competing for limited scholarship funding. And if you're thinking, wow, she's talking about this right now because it's beneficial to her kids. Yeah, maybe. Is it beneficial? Absolutely. But do I want what's best for everybody in this district? Yes. My child's kind of at that point where we are rushing to get the numbers on there. By including that weight though, committees see this complete and accurate representation. The reason they're weighted is because it's a higher rigor. Are these students competing academically at a higher level than other students? And so I really think the board needs to recognize that weighted 5-point GPA on the board policy, so it will reflect a student's efforts when they're working in this advanced coursework. Like I said, just my child alone is eligible for several thousand more dollars if we can get it on there. It also states in the EIC local that the calculation of class rank and GPA shall exclude grades earned in physical education and athletics. This includes dual credit PE. I mean, you're doing a dual credit college course and we're not considering it for GPA. Not only that, but PE is a state mandated academic course. Excluding it from GPA is basically saying the state says it's mandatory, the state has requirements, but we're not going to match those same requirements. We don't think it needs to go on your GPA. As somebody who supervises all of these registers, any course that earns a grade goes on a transcript with a GPA that reflects the grade that's on there. So why we're picking and choosing which courses we're going to assign a GPA to is beyond me. There are curriculum standards, there's assessments, there's grading that's required. And think about just the amount of time our athletes spend in PE athletics. And I promise this is not an insult to band, accounting, physics, or pre-cal. But you cannot tell me that those kids are putting in just as much time and effort in those courses as they are in athletics. So why are we punishing them and say, we're not even going to include it? We're not going to calculate it. It doesn't count. It should count. And not only that, but excluding certain subjects, that's going to unintentionally either advantage or disadvantage some of our students. Once again, when these kids are applying for scholarships, man, what if you have 100 in athletics and bump your GPA 0.01? That may be the difference to get you from a 3.99 to now a 4.0, which is a lot of money. So, like I said, am I here to benefit my kids? Absolutely not. Most of everything regarding GPA, especially for PE, guess what? It's not going to apply to either one of my kids. You don't go back and backdate stuff. Once it's on the transcript, it stays there. And so I'm not here for my kids. I'm here for every kid that is going to walk out these doors over the next 100 years. Are we doing what's best for them? And I think by excluding PE, we are absolutely not doing that. And I think we also need to make sure that we're including that 5-point weighted GPA on the official transcript. As I said, if I have a student call one of our registers, there's one rodeo kid, y'all. His mom calls register about once a month. We're applying for this new scholarship and they need this on the transcript. Guess what my registrar does? She's going to go in there, make those changes, update it. She's not changing any grades. She's not changing any of that, but they may say, we need it to look in this form. She's going to change it for him because any opportunity that we can help students get to college, pay for college, we should be doing. So when y'all are talking about that later today, I hope that you consider adding PE back into GPA calculation and consider adding the 5-point weighted GPA scale to a high school transcript. And thank you for everything y'all do.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thanks, Samantha.
Next, we will move to the recognition of the state class A spirit competition. Sorry, I can't see that. Jayton High School, 6th place. We will do that outside. Oh, damn, yeah, downstairs. Sure.
Do 100 ready to go home?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm ready. My kids are decided for Lent that I'm giving up not just ice cream, but even their ice cream. So they first started with give up ice cream in general, and then we've negotiated that as long as I just don't eat their ice cream. No, that's part of my plan. I just.
What's the other word?
I don't know yet. I gotta come,
Feel like you're getting part of your life back. How many of these three projects you got going?
Oh, just a couple right now, not that many. But, yeah, we're primed and ready to start this. I've got a super. Wrapping up the project.
Ready to go? You say party?
And sponsor, I happen to know they spend a lot of hours trying to that competition. They learn a lot, so they're watching it learn a lot, and so they recommend it well. And so I'll give them an order to help. First, we'll recognize Vic to them. Along. Long. Rich Law. Lee Law. Hal Humphrey. Brave. Cameron Arnold. Aiden. Reed Dinner. Brenton Hannah. Bedford. Gray. The board of elections, Ms. Foley and Ms. Smart.
Hit from the jack.
That's smart.
I don't know if I'll use it or not. It's like a hoodie, so.
Yeah, but during
Maybe
the
it's a
day,
hoodie.
so.
Yeah.
I thought there was at home though, I have my little old age shawl.
Roy? Jake.
Okay, next we are gonna kind of skip down the list a little bit. We're going to move down to action item, consider guaranteed maximum price, GMP. With stipulated alternatives for the softball baseball complex as presented by construction manager at risk, Jason Farr.
Jason, you want me to your documents on the screen or you wanna use your device? Doesn't matter to me.
If you don't mind putting them on the screen, that'd be
Okay.
great. So,
You wanna, the summaries or the spreadsheet versions?
I think we could start out with the summaries and if
Okay.
we need to spread our wings and move on, then we can.
Okay,
So,
I'll put them up there so we can look at them kind of on a side-by-side basis, if you want.
okay. So just to start off with, kind of a precursor to that. Felt like we had pretty good response on the bid. We sent out 120 direct invites to subcontractors. Advertised through 3 website trade organizations, the AGC, the Dodge Report, Virtual Builders Exchange. They spread that far and wide. We also put a couple of ads in the paper, and received back 54 bidders on that. And a lot of those folks bid multiple things. So essentially we got multiple bids of that, but 54 is a pretty good response number on that. So anyway, we ended up with 2 scenarios here. Basically, you're good. The turf company that had the lowest bid was Hellas, followed by Field Turf Tarkett, followed by Paragon, and then Symmetry. So we had the big 4, what we would call big 4 field turf companies out there that bid on the project. But again, these were the 2 low bids here. So we have the base bid came in at 5.8 for Hellas and a little over $6 million with Tarkett. Baked into that number, there is $130,000 of contingency. So 100 of that for the owner and 100 for the contractor. The only place that I could see the contractor using ours is if we run into something underground that we're not anticipating. Also, we don't exactly know the entire details of what the power company is going to require in terms of their pad. So there might be a little bit there, and also the exact point that we're going to tie in for wind. So there's a few little unknowns there, and that's what that 30K is for. But the $100,000 is strictly for if the board decides that you want to add anything to the project that's not already baked into it.
Like Nelson Coulter's name across the dare.
Yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
I think we could fit your bust or maybe even a statue. But
I've already let the air out of his tires.
I think just a mural on the back wall, on the back wall of the home run fence. So we have several alternates in here. 4 of them were defined in the plans. So alternate 1 would change your dugouts from having CMU block walls to having chain link walls. Still have bar panel metal roof on it. The difference would just be the walls there. So with Hellas, that option saves $41,000. With Tarkett, $17,900. Second option, adding alternate colors to the field panels. So basically the stripes on the field. I think I have the turf. So this, like that versus just that, right? So Hella said that'd be no additional. Tarkett said that run a little bit more, 22.6. So we had in the base bid, the parking lot is an asphalt parking lot. It's got 1.5 inches of asphalt over what we would call a flex base. So 6 inches of caliche flex base. In alternate number 3, it would get rid of that flex base. It would get rid of the asphalt. And in lieu of that, we'd have a 5-inch deep rock paving aggregate. So that's on the plans, of course. That would also change your handicap parking spaces would change from asphalt to concrete in that situation. Because you can't meet ADA on a rock paving surface. So. Alternate number 4 is an alternate to add the bleacher canopies. So the shade structure over the top of all the bleachers would be an additional 149.5. So looking at that, our prices came in a little bit higher than what we had in our opinion of probable cost. You know, back in August, I created this opinion of probable cost that was roughly $5.68 million at the time, and it included the bleachers in that. It did not have any of the allowances in there, but it did have the bleachers. So knowing that we were over that, and of course, at that point in time, all we really had was locations of where things went. Didn't really know much about the utilities, where they were going to come from. Didn't really know much about the topography of the site. There were a few unknowns, but we basically only knew this is where the fields are going to go. This is where the road's going to go. And based off of that, created a budget. So the numbers, you know, came in a little bit higher than what we wanted. So I reached out to the subcontractors and asked them if they had any voluntary, what we call value engineering alternates. So right out the gate, Arquette recommended using a 5-inch drainage stone instead of 6 inches of drainage stone underneath the field. According to Tarquette, they said that 6 inches is what you would need in an area that receives a lot of rain, coastal area, Louisiana, Houston, that kind of thing. They said in this area, 5 inches would be more than adequate. So they recommended going to that. They both saved roughly about the same amount, 60,000, 61,000 roughly, to do that. Second is an alternate pertaining to the turf itself. So it's a little bit different between these two on this one. For Tarquette, they recommended well, they didn't actually recommend it, but they gave the option where they have these removable inserts in your batter's box and at your mound, where you can take out turf and exchange it for other turf pretty simply, because those are high wear areas. They've got basically a system with a concrete dish, and you basically put these inside of that. If they were to eliminate that and just strictly put turf there, just a high wear, heavier duty turf, they could save $26,000. I don't know that I would recommend that myself. Conversely, with Hella's, even though it's pretty close in number, it's not the same change to the turf. What they're recommending is you change from 3 different turfs to one singular turf. So in your base bid with the system that's specified, there's actually 2 or 3 different kinds of turf that are blended together. You've got different turfs in different areas of the field. So basically what Hellas would be proposing there would be to change that to all being one kind of turf rather than another. They have fields that they've done. I asked them, is there any fields that you guys may have encountered or visited that utilize that system? They gave me some examples such as Lubbock Cooper ISD. They've done jobs for Midland High School. There were several others, and I've got a list of them here in this book, but it's something that they use quite frequently, is to use that system. Not trying to push one way or the other. In fact, I would probably, if I were to give a recommendation, it would be towards Tarquette. I want to give you all the information that I was given. So value engineering alternate number C
instead of alternate number 3 up here where we went with 5 inches of rock, Calco Services was the bidder that we went in with for civil, for dirt and paving. And Calco says that they would recommend going with a layer of rock on top of the caliche base. So keep the caliche base and do a smaller layer of rock. So instead of 5 inches of rock, use 3 inches of rock on top. We even looked at the idea of using as little as 1.5 inches of rock on top of that caliche. Ran that past the civil engineer. They do not recommend that option. Calco seems to think it'll work, but again, civil engineer didn't recommend that option, so I can't really recommend it to you. But I did want to let you know that we did price that out. So, and then the last option that we have on here is just to basically take something out, which is there's a telecom, 2 telecom conduits that would run underneath the field and get to the concession stand. Rather than running that conduit, you could eliminate it and do maybe a point-to-point transmission of data wirelessly. I think we've discussed that's an option. Eliminating that conduit, just the conduit itself, because this does not include any kind of fiber optic or anything being pulled through that line, just the pathway that's included in the base bid. Just eliminating the conduit would save that 19,000. So if you were to look at combinations of these options, that's what I was trying to do down here, was basically say, okay, here's your base bid. If you went with the lowest possible combination of selections, so taking the 41 and the 60 and each one of these, you could get as low as this number here, 5.65. If we were to just say that you want to take the base bid plus your 4 alternates that are in the plans and ignore all of the VE options, get to 5.8 or 6.12. And down here, if we took all of the alternates, then that's what we would end up with, 5.69, 5.96. So I know that's kind of a lot of ground that I covered at once. Backing up, 320 days is our projection on start to finish. We'll try to tighten that up if we can, but we've got some really long lead time items in there. I think I've discussed that with a few of you board members. Our longest lead time item is going to be the leacher system. From the time that gets approved, we're looking at 180 days just to get that unit. And so it takes a little bit to even get it approved. They've got to develop shop drawings and submit those and get those reviewed and blessed. And then that clock for 180 days would start. So trying to factor in all those pieces, all the lead times, the things that lead up to that. That's kind of how we came up with that 320. Again, we'll endeavor to make that better, but some of that's going to hinge on the different components going into the job. So this binder here is basically all the bids that we received. Made a copy of all that. I can leave with you. But just wanted to show you what we received and what we went through. Appreciate the board giving me the time to go through it. There's a lot of, no matter how I ask for the bids, some of them just kind of beat to their own drum and do what they want. And so it took a while to kind of peel back the layers of the onion and figure out, okay, where do we got subs overlapping in scope? And can I take this out of your scope? Or can you break this out of your scope so I can figure out who's really low? And then once I figured out who had the best number, the best value, that's how I came up with these combinations. So if you'd like to, I have, beyond this recap sheet, I have an itemized list of everything, and we can go through it item by item if y'all want to.
They, these two documents and those itemizations that you sent, I put them in
Looked
the
at
board
them earlier.
packets as soon as you gave them.
I have.
Or if you have any questions about any of those or anything specifically, specific contractors, I think inside of that itemization, it listed all of the subcontractors that we would be proposing to use in there. As I touched on earlier, Calco Services was who we were planning on using for dirt and paving. Commercial Electric, White Service Company for HVAC, Earl's Plumbing, Southern Bleacher Company, Deerwood for utilities, Brothers Septic for septic, Dean Hagler for painting, Hamilton Acoustical for ceilings, and Reyes Concrete for concrete. Of course, there's a few items that, foreign companies kind of picking up the slack of what's not bid and things that the other subcontractors don't bid.
Did you call out the lighting when you were articulating that?
I beg your pardon?
Lighting?
Field lighting. So we have basis of design was Qualight.
Well, light, okay.
And so that's who we've actually got in the bid is Qualight. We had bids from Musco. We had bids from Qualight. Hellas has their own brand of lighting that they partner up with. That was pretty competitive, but Qualight was still the best value overall. So.
Questions for Jason, if you got them?
I guess lighting everybody's LEDs now, aren't they?
Yes, sir. LEDs and then able to control it remotely from a computer, from a smartphone. You shut it down, turn it on, set it on a timer, all those.
Our technology director's over there smiling.
Yeah.
You just speaking his language.
Something else that
If you want to get
He can do it from the coast.
base price is white, but they do have the option if you were so inclined to add it, or you can add colors to that.
Jason, I have just a couple things before I think we dive into a lot of this. Just two questions right off the bat is, you got a 320-day duration, but at what point would the fields, do we think, when are they ready? Right, that's a completion in title of the whole project. But have you looked at potentially, is it a 7-month thing? From when the fields could potentially be ready to play on, or we're looking at it as a whole right now. Maybe we can try to understand that. I think that's something that they probably really want to know.
I think that's a possibility. I think, essentially we want to be able to build out those fields in their entirety and then bring Southern Bleachers in to erect their structure. So potentially you could be on it within 7 months, but then we will have some construction ongoing on the periphery of that may not be something that you would want to deal with.
And I didn't know, I just threw 7 months out there, but that's just a question I think I have for myself, and I'm sure that's a question that they have. Because, I think is it delays or anything, as long as the kids can get out there and potentially get on a field, that's the most important part, right? You can pull up some lawn chairs if we don't have, bleachers, or if there's any issues with that, but I think kind of understanding that for sure is.
Sure.
is important.
So obviously we build out those fields first. We have to have the fields in order to set the lighting. They'll set the field lighting and then do their aiming protocols. Of course, you need power to function those lights. So all of that ties back into the concession stand building. So basically there's a few moving parts there. We could potentially get you in a little bit earlier. Maybe 7 months, maybe 8 months, you might be able to utilize it in some capacity.
Stephen put you on the hot seat, didn't he?
Lighting aside, right, you can always play a game in the daytime, right? I'm just saying, like, you could be building a concession, all while the fields have been complete, because those probably will be done prior to,
They will.
So I just think that's an important question that.
We talked about that a
We've
year or two before. Can you just do the fields first?
Yeah, they have asked us,
We'll do
yeah,
the
so
lights
it's just like
later.
at some point. they
When
wanna
we're
have
at the
those.
concession stand, we can set it, we're a lawn chair community.
Right.
We set up tables for concessions and pickles and hot dogs and popcorn.
Yeah.
That's baseball.
I told Jason on the phone yesterday, we can put up a tent and slice watermelon and people will pay money for the concession stand.
They're ready to hear a crack of a bat, believe me, yeah. The other thing I think that we just need to talk about is the allowances, right? These allowances are in this number. And, you know, there's, specifically, you know, there's the scoreboards, right? Which, again, you modeled that off of, Colorado City.
That's correct. So we have a $130,000 allowance for scoreboards. I know that sounds like a lot, and it is a lot. But basically what I did is we went to Colorado City, took a lot of pictures there. I sent that over to H2I, which is a company that installs scoreboards, and said, this is kind of what we're shooting for. This is what we're envisioning. And so they gave me that budget of $130,000. I've actually had Arquette go to OES, which is another scoreboard manufacturer, and they came back with, if you wanted it exactly like Colorado City, they think more like 120. And that's not to say that you need exactly what, or want exactly what Colorado City has with the decorative trusses and all the signage attached to it and all of that stuff. You can definitely pare that down and have a very nice scoreboard. So it's kind of, that's why it's set up as an allowance, so that we can go back in and kind of dial in exactly what you want to see there.
That's built into the base bid.
It's built into the
Yeah,
base bid.
that's correct.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
And that's scoreboards, that's backstop, you know, protection netting, and that's AV. And there's some other small items, but those are the three big ones.
Yes, we've got, like you touched on, AV, backstop net, scoreboard, testing allowance for concrete testing and dirt testing. Just a general signage allowance of about $5,000. So a couple of unique ones. There's a bleacher foundation allowance. That sounds odd. Why would you have that? We've got plans. So the bleacher company, they actually come in and they design the foundation for their bleacher structure, but they don't do that design until you sign them up on the dotted line and they have a contract. They're not going to the trouble of developing that. They did give me a template of what they've used on a prior job that they think it'll be very similar to that. And I had a concrete sub price that out, which led us to that $15,000 allowance. So that's what I've got plugged in there, but it is an unknown at this juncture. So it is allowance. Similarly to that, electrical. So we talked with AEP and asked them about power and, you know, kind of their timetable, and try to figure things out with them and work with them. And they've been very responsive and helpful in our communication with them recently. But they've mentioned that to get a transformer for 4 kV power, which is what you have in these transmission lines, it's a 12 to 18 month timeline to get a transformer. And then they said, if anything were to happen to that transformer, goes bad, if something happens to it, they recommend that you have a backup, because you would have to wait another 12 or 18 months to procure a backup if something like that were to happen. So they were really pushing towards, hey, instead of doing a pad mount ground transformer, how about we just run overhead transmission lines all the way up to the point right between the two fields, and then you go underground from that point. And they said, we will provide the poles and the wire and run all the way out there at no cost to the district. So just to let you know, that the underground, to get from the point across the street and go completely underground to the point that we were thinking that the primary was going to have to reach to, it's well over $100,000. So that's a pretty good savings that they would offer there in that. And it just seems like with the timetable and trying to get things where it's completely usable and you can play night games in here a year from now, really the overhead's the way to go. That said, I don't have the exact details on, we set the pole here between the two fields. It's got to then go underground from that point over to what's called a CT cam. And then, have a meter there, and there's gonna be a little concrete pad there. I don't exactly know that exact distance that's gonna be. I don't know much about the concrete pad. It will fit within this $18,000 allowance that I have, but it is an allowance that's set up for that to handle it. So potentially, if it were to cost 14, then you're gonna have that $4,000 that can move into your general allowance or just be taken off the contract amount. So whatever we don't spend in the allowances, goes right back to the district in whatever form you want, whether you want it in the general allowance or just take it off the contract right then and there, so.
You did realize you just said playing under the lights a year from now, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm making sure.
Stephen,
Got it on
Stephen hemmed him up. Are y'all riding together? No, or not now, you're not.
Hey, I shared my pizza.
So, but yeah, that pretty much, that touches on all of the allowances got plugged in there. So. Other than that, it's all hard numbers from subcontractors, and I feel like we've got a good solid group and one that we can trust. And like I said, we have done a project with Hellas before. I know that y'all had some experiences with them, and I don't know, I won't pretend to know a whole lot about that, but anyway, Tarkett has been phenomenal and very professional in our dealings with them thus far. I feel really comfortable with them. Their literature that they have, you know, they've done a lot of fields for a lot of big name folks, and they have all the appearances of a really legitimate company. And
You've not ever worked with them directly?
I beg your
You've
pardon?
not ever worked with them directly?
No, sir, I have not.
And do you mind,
Let's be a friend.
do you mind saying where you worked with Hellas?
Brownfield ISD, we did an indoor practice facility. And then at Westbrook ISD, we didn't work with them directly, but they were doing a track at the same time that we were doing concession stand and other things.
Okay.
So.
And so, for the purpose of the board's conversation and thinking, these two summary bids that you see on the screen, as Jason said, one is represented by Hellas on the left and the one Tarkett on the right. Fundamentally, the difference in those two price tags has to do with the turf. I mean, that's the differentiator of the
There
prices.
is, and I would say that Tarkett has a really great system where they're combining those three different kinds of turf, and it's way over my head. They've tried to explain it to me, but there's a lot of science that goes into that stuff and how it plays and that sort of thing. But I am really impressed by their system with those interchangeable sections in the high wear layer areas where, you know, the alternative to that is you've got the turf sewn in together, and when that stuff wears out, you've got to have somebody come cut it out and replace it. And that's going to definitely be more expensive than an interchangeable piece that fits inside.
So that is not part of the Hellas.
Hellas actually, I think, has that too,
Okay.
but that's why I'm saying I would be hesitant to take that option. Just because I think that insert is really,
Oh, yeah.
I think
Gotcha.
that's a really good selling
Gotcha.
point.
So I guess for, anybody else got a question for Jason before we get into the nitty gritty? So, I've been in communication with the board steadily, and specifically quite a bit in the last 48 hours, feeding them all the information that I can get my hands on, even more so than Stephen and Jason have. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So here's what I'm thinking. I mean, to me, the initial piece is, well, in the flow chart form. Are we gonna decide on something tonight? If we are, then we gotta pick one of those two versions, either the one that Hellas is gonna be providing the turf or the one that Tarkett is. And then, once we've decided on which of those we'll take. I think it'll be easier for us to have conversation about which alternates we think we want to include and which value engineering elements we want to include, and make that just part of one motion rather than getting bogged down in Robert's Rules of Orders with a bunch of amendments and voting on amendments and that kind of stuff. If we can achieve some consensus about what we think we want to do, and then someone nail it down in one motion and say, I move that we go with company or version ABC and include alternate A and value engineering alternate C and whatever, and put it in one motion, and we'll be done with it in one fell. Y'all watch the comedian Nate Bargatze? One fell swoop, you know? We can get her done in one fell swoop. That make sense to you?
It does.
Okay. So the first order of business then is anybody, do we believe there's enough members of the board that think, yes, we want to move forward with this softball baseball complex?
I'll say I think I'm all right with it. Knowing Colorado City and the homework I've done with what they've done and with Paragon, the pricing on it, and looking over the numbers through this, our difference is really the parking lot that's a huge piece of
Yeah.
a chunk of change with that.
They did not have asphalt parking.
No, they didn't do anything. They didn't do a parking lot. They had their
They're
old
across the street on somebody's
concession
grass,
stand.
yeah.
They already had a concession stand there in place.
Yeah.
And with looking at the numbers though, with the concession stand and parking lot, I think we're right in line, even with 3% inflation. This is a lot where I can align with this pretty easily. Even with leaving the stuff on. It's gonna look nice and it's gonna be there we'll all be gone. There'll still be kids out there playing on it.
I'm probably gonna be dead before it's finished.
I hope not.
Mr. Farr, you better stand up.
Well, those people as my witness, and I've said it to you all, but I'm gonna say it again, do not necessitate me. Do not. Want you.
But with the number I'm looking at, either one, I'm fine. I know Ellis built Euless Field, and I didn't get to go last year. Did you get to go? Did any of y'all go to Euless Field?
I've seen that one.
I heard everybody said they were super nice.
I'm doing my best to read between the lines here, I promise, and I hate putting you on the spot, but there's a fairly large discrepancy, so I feel like I have to ask the question. I feel like you lean one direction more than the other, but I'm gonna need a little more than reading between the lines on that to know why.
You just thought Stephen put you on.
I can give my opinion on that too.
Okay.
I have an opinion.
I would say I would lean towards these folks. Just because of the comfort level that I have with them and dealing with them and they did a lot to get this over the finish line. And to help facilitate things and move things in the direction that it needed to go. And so they have a lot of time and effort, energy into it. Other people get to borrow from their ideas, but
First impression.
yeah, so.
So did they help you build your bid specs or what? I mean, what did
Tarquette.
they do that the other teams guys didn't?
No, that's exactly right. We've been working with Tarquette for over a year. And helping us, develop drawings and details and specs. Which ultimately they became the basis of design. They have been there with us from day one. The relationship that we have with Hellas was the track project that we have here. And in my opinion, it was not a successful project. Ultimately, there was, some decisions made, in terms of it was a resurface. There were some subsurface issues that were repaired. And it was very difficult to get Hellas out here to make those repairs, right? And for a community like this to where we're at, and I think this goes for anybody, at the end of the day, somebody just wants people to take responsibility for their work and or to be responsible. And when there's an issue that you can make a phone call and somebody's gonna answer and come here. I feel like that is more evident in Field Turf and Tarquette in their responsiveness and helping us throughout this project compared to Hellas. I'm not saying Hellas is a bad company, but I think, Aaron and Travis and their engineers have been with us from day one. And I told them, I said, look, at the end of the day, we want competitive bidding. It's not just yours, right? Everybody's gonna come after this, and we want you to sharpen your pencil. And you may be higher, or you may be lower, but I think at the end of the day, all I can say, I'm not the one making the decision, but all I can at least give you is the effort, that they have put forth towards this job. And we understand that they are higher, there is a value there. But I do have concerns with Hellas, and, potentially, they want to be the dog and pony show and come in and say that they're going to do good work but I feel like they just kind of left us hanging with the track. That's just the experience that I have lately with them.
Well, we also have to think about, there were 2 other bids too that were higher than Tarquette's. There
Paragon,
would be 2 more up there, but they were.
Symmetry.
right.
Okay, Paragon is symmetry. Is that an answer to your question?
Mhm.
Is that the answer you were expecting? Now I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I wasn't I wanted some detail and this, follow up.
Yeah.
In regard to the track,
Her mother's really smart.
do you feel like,
But smart.
do you feel like if Hellas had done some more work on the front end, they would have recognized that the bid should have been a little bit bigger to do the track correctly to start with? Or do you think it was kind of one of those money pit things where you get into it and you're surprised?
So it was, clearly nobody understands what's underneath that surface, right? Until you get under it, right? So they scraped the surface off. There was a change that really we were not aware of. It was kind of between, which was it? But it was kind of, it was not you.
One of the last 4 superintendents.
Yeah, one of the last,
Was not me.
but Tyner was the GC,
Okay.
right? So you had Tyner, Hellas, and I want to say it might have been either Mr. Tubb. It ended with Scott,
Okay.
right? Mr. Bicknell. But there was a change order to repair majority of those cracks. I think it was $74,000.
Okay.
I don't believe it was taken in full, and they chose to fix it in certain areas of that track. And so when they put the new surface down, some of the areas, becomes a finger pointing game now, right? But when we reached out to them for their expertise and, how do we solve this? This is a brand new, this is a quality, it's a Q3000. It's not an entry level track system, right? It's not an Olympian track, but it is a very nice track system. It was very difficult to get them out here. Now, they were going through we talked about this earlier.
Leadership change.
Leadership change, which maybe that was just part of it, but it was pulling teeth to get a representative or an engineer or somebody to come out here and give us an opinion of how to fix this.
So if we don't pick them, how are we gonna get our track fixed then?
Yeah, so
I'll say it. No, everybody's thinking it.
Well, let me speak to that, because that's been, as you all, as the board knows, that this has been an area that I've been conflicted in, on how, my feelings. And, again, her mother is really, really smart, and she does have better judgment than I do. She talked me off the cliff this morning about 5:30, but we're gonna fix our track. It's not gonna be this year, and it may not be next year. But I don't think us fixing our track needs to be part of this conversation.
Two separate.
I think we need to pick, the version of this project that we think is gonna serve us the best and well, and then go. That's what I think.
Anybody else?
I mean, I would say go with Tarquette. I'm good with that. I've sat in on a few other turf discussions and other school board meetings and they're alternates that I think we need. I don't think we take out things.
Right.
I think we keep
Yep.
things
Agree.
in there. If we want to fulfill the vision that we have for this and what it can be and what it can do.
I'm comfortable with Target. I mean, after hearing this, yeah.
I don't know anybody with Tarquette or Hillis, but Jason, has a relationship with them, I wanna go with who he feels comfortable with cause he's put all this stuff together. Tarquette.
Roy?
Matters not to me.
BJ?
I would probably lean towards Tarquette also. And kind of like Stephanie, it's like, I don't think we need to take anything off. I think a lot of those things are nice touches. We could argue about whether to add things or not, but I think the removals, I think would lessen what it would come out to. What it would
Well, and some of those I think are going to lower the maintenance long term, which, yeah.
Yeah.
So that seems like enough for me to turn this
Just,
on.
yeah, so if we go with Target and we do all the alternate 1, 2, 3, 4, just leave those in. That's kind of everything we need, and I'm trying to, so explain to me the VE alternate A, B, C, D, maybe I'm just.
I would say I don't know that there's really a downside to VE alternate A. I don't think you're gonna get anything less for doing that. I think you're gonna be good.
So like you're saying, it's an easy 60,000 to
I
save.
think it's
I would agree. Yeah, cause I think Jason's right, that was amongst
recommended.
all of the turf people, was it just Tarquette?
It wasn't just Tarquette, there were other people that recommended that same
We would
same
recommend
scenario. So,
So if we just run with alternate 1, 2, 3 and don't even worry about the VE A through E, then
well, what I was saying is I would definitely take
A it's a deduct, so you're saving,
yeah.
so we wanna be talking about A through E, cause we're saving money if you pick one of those.
What about E? Keith, you're gonna know more about that than we are.
So
Starlink.
the main reason for the telecom conduits to go out there is obviously to feed fiber and internet to that location and camera feeds back, okay? I can do all that with a point-to-point wireless connection. So it's not necessary for this project. What I was thinking of is possible future projects on the rest of that acreage. If we do anything out there, we would already have something partway there.
Okay.
But I got no problem with cutting it out of this because I can accomplish what I need to for baseball and softball with a wireless connection, because we're not gonna have that many cameras out there. So in the future, if we build something off back there, then we can add conduit at that point back to something there, you know. And I was just trying to future proof it a little bit.
Okay.
I would say, and to your point on that too, the route that we have to go would be where it's showing to go underneath the field. I don't particularly like that. But secondly to that, to get back out from that concession building to where you might want to go in the future, we've got underground electrical and a septic system right in that area. So you're kind of trying to get back through a minefield to get out of there to feed something else. So I think you might be better served trying to take conduit directly to that future location at that point in time in a more direct route.
Interesting. So I'm good with.
Okay. You
So,
We're up to 79,000.
yeah, I think what I heard, I'm trying to help us get emotion.
Oh, you're good.
I think what I heard is consensus with the Tarquette version of the bid, going with Jason's base bid, I think we want to include alternate 4, which is canopies over the bleachers. I mean, I think that's what I heard. And I think we want on value engineering A, is that right, Jason? The one that you feel comfortable with?
Yes, sir.
And those are the only two, basically the only two alternates that we would,
And E.
In E.
I thought Keith just asked E.
So we would take
Right,
the,
so we would,
to delete that.
yeah, so delete it.
Oh, okay, so. So let me recap what I think we're looking at then. I'm trying to get this in the form of a motion.
You wanna start at 1 and-
Just start at 1 and go down and
I think-
cause I think alternate 1, we leave with the
Leave it as the CMU,
nice walls, yeah.
Yeah. So we're not doing
so you wouldn't take the 17,600 or 960, yeah.
No, I wouldn't
Right.
take that one.
I'm not sure we're thinking in the same manner.
So
So if the motion is to go with the Target version of the bid and to
alternate.
use alternate 4. So we have the canopy over the bleachers. And use value engineering alternate A as part of the motion. Those value engineerings are not part of the base bid, are they?
No, any one of these that you select will affect this number.
So let me ask you this, Jason. So on the alternates and the value engineering, we need to specify the ones we want to be part of.
You want to
The base
specify
bid.
which ones you want
Okay,
to choose. I mean, you make the selection kind of dictates, we're going with
Sure.
the base bid, and then you just make your.
it'll move that number up or down slightly.
And one more caveat to that.
Yeah.
I can actually, inside of we have a GMP amendment to the contract is what it's called. It's a document. It will specify, it will list out the alternates that were accepted. But if there's one that you want to think about, we can still list that in there and hold that price for a period of a few weeks.
Yeah.
And if you want to decide on that later, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's an option if you so chose. But it would help to know them now because that just helps me be able to go ahead and write the subcontractor's contract for the exact amount. rather than having to go back to do a change.
Well, what I'd like to do is give you clear direction. This is a go signal. And this is, and go with this, and this.
Yes, sir.
So if the motion is, if the motion were to, I move to accept the base bid of the Target version and include alternate 4. You're writing, aren't you? Which means bleachers. And include value engineer alternate A. And include value engineer alternate E. Did I capture what we've been talking about? Is that?
That's one thing. Are y'all wanting to do the striping on the field or just leave it green, just no striping? That's alternate number 2. So it's an add of 22,667 to get striping with Target. I think that was the only other thing that you may want to consider.
I think it looks good, but it doesn't, but we're gonna have the J Bird and the Lady J out in the middle of the field, so I'm not real.
Do I need to hold
Or
it
J
up, pass it around?
So to me, what we're gonna do is that's.
Thanks for bringing that up, Steve.
Yeah, so there's softball and. Yeah, I just think that's one more that's kind of an aesthetic thing.
Yeah.
You're not thinking right?
You're adding 17,000.
No,
I'd say also this white circle around here, ignore that. They printed this out before we realized that that's not
Sure,
actually
right.
desirable.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
and just because, we have plenty of time to get this in front of you and the coaches to approve colors. It's not like this is the gospel right here. So.
Might want a little
So
closer.
y'all got a thought, alternate?
So number 2 is to add, is an add.
Yeah.
It's an increase in cost
The green.
to add striping.
Or even,
So that would be alternate 2,
Yeah.
if we wanted the stripe field.
Only thing I found on the striping as far as preference is the actual player's preference, not on the internet. Outfielder. it's easier for a player to judge a ball that's coming in and it takes a hop. There's some reference
On the
lines
solid
out there on the striped field.
Oh, yeah,
There's some reference lines.
Yeah.
Some of the players
Interesting.
heard it. They thought it was easier to,
interesting.
but that was one coach's opinion. But is it worth $22,000? I don't know if it matters. I like the look. It looks like a mowed field to me. I like the looks of the stripe.
I like the feel that we don't have to mow.
Yeah.
You'll never know the difference either way.
So is alternate one not already built in the 6,040,000?
No, sir, none of these are built in.
I guess I'm getting confused because some of them are purchases, which to me means deduct and.
Yeah. So this would be deduct versus add.
So yeah, so if you would take alternate one, you would take 17,960 off of your 6,040,000.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So no, we don't want to do that. Right.
So let me back up.
That's what I was thinking and I'm sorry.
You're nearly up to 6'2" just by adding the bleachers.
Pardon?
Nearly up to
The canopy.
6.2 adding the
Yeah.
bleachers, canopy.
So, the motion would be to move to accept the Target version of the bid to include alternate 2, which is the striping on the field, alternate 4, which is bleacher canopies, value engineer alternate A, which is the modification of drainage stones, and value engineer alternate E, which is to eliminate the telecom conduits.
So you don't think we need that 5-inch drainage stone under the field?
You'll have 5 inches instead of 6 inches, so you're just getting rid of 1 inch. But basically, you're creating a giant French drain out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that stone's just allowing you more time for that water to dissipate and move into its drainage channels. But that's why they said 6 inches is desirable in areas where you get a lot more rain than here.
We perk quickly here.
Yeah, we don't get rain.
Just
Just all at one, all in 2 days.
That's the problem.
Well,
Hey, at least it goes over to, Seth and Margot's house.
You about to call me, thanks.
So did that,
Okay.
I'm not
I wanna-
trying
wanna
to
do
drive things.
That type to make sure nobody
Would you
disagrees.
read it back?
Motion to accept the base bid of Target version, include alternate 4, the bleacher canopies, alternate 2, the striping, VE alternate A, the modification of the drainage stone, and VE alternate E, eliminating the telecom conduit.
Sounds
Is
good.
that what everyone?
That almost offsets the cost of the canopies almost. No.
You're taking off 80 in alternates.
8 added 100.
Do we need a motion?
If you all think that's where this ship's going, yeah, let's make a motion and we can do it in one fell swoop.
I'll make a motion that we accept this Target bid with the things that Kenzie just typed up.
I'll second it. All in favor?
You going on the record?
All of
You're
those.
opposed? I didn't know if you were abstaining or opposed.
I thought he'd ask me.
My bad.
Okay, any other questions for Jason and Stephen before we?
Thank y'all so much.
yeah, thank y'all.
That's the official action, and so you'll reflect a fresh bid with those decisions, right?
Yes, sir.
And
I'll
send that
update
to me?
I'll update my bid sheet and send you that with those options
Yeah.
that's baked
Okay.
into it.
All right,
You want
and
to-
Jason, I would like to say thank you for, I know how much work that is, especially trying to sort out those subcontract proposals. I
Would
appreciate.
you like to share your cell phone number with the board?
Yeah, that's one thing about Florida Company, and I definitely will do that. I'm available anytime, day or night. We're not the biggest company, but we do appreciate the work and we're accessible. So when you call, we'll answer.
Well, and I want to say, I appreciate Jason and Stephen both. I mean, when I'll get an email from them on Sunday and they'll get it, or email from me on Sunday. I'm very responsive. I appreciate that. And sometimes I'm sure they see my name and they're going,
Stephen, are you gonna throw in a snow cone machine?
Snow cone machine?
No comments.
I don't know.
Doesn't come-
Expensive.
Furnace shouldn't come running.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I'm excited. It's been a long time coming. We're appreciate, you guys and everything that y'all have done and glad to be a part of this and excited to see these kids, out here on this field. And again, feels like it's not just for the school, but it's for the community. And I love baseball. I'm a sports guy, so I'm excited.
And thank y'all for the cookies and drinks today.
You're
It
welcome.
just made our party even more special.
You're welcome. Yeah, sure.
okay,
So we'll be in touch. There's an email. We usually write like a notice to proceed, which will reflect the overall bid numbers and things like that, kind of on behalf, basically kind of turning them loose to get going. So.
okay.
We're good.
Yep, thank you. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
being
Kevin.
here. Thanks for making the drive. Yes, sir.
Yeah, be careful.
Appreciate it.
Figure out.
For
Thanks, sir.
Ingles.
Yep.
I can leave this book with you all if you'd like.
Have a good night.
You like
I'll keep it.
ever,
Yes, sir.
having from the fall of the fleet?
Here you go.
I got seven.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate
We're
it.
done together or? No, so we're in session.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Good to meet you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Mayor. Last but not least.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you.
Y'all are ready. Next, we'll move to the principal report.
Student enrollment's still the same. We're at 188, 60, 31, and 97. Transfer is still the same. Since we met in January, time of year you start rolling the one act play and academic stuff gets to rolling. So we had a one act play clinic here for 2 days. Got to have some teams come in. I think there were 5 teams, 3 one day, 2 the next, and then us, and critique them and give them hints on how things would play. Really, really neat. So we hosted that here for 2 days. Of course, UIL realignment. We're going back to Region 1, be Division 1 in football. So familiar faces in that district and some familiar faces back in our basketball district, but we changed back and forth. So we're back there. We did National Honor Society induction. We almost doubled in them. I believe we did over double them. We had 12 and now we got 13 more. So we had a large induction ceremony with 13 new members. We have not lowered or changed qualifications. That means that they've made it. So it was really good. We went to one UIL academic practice meet at Haskell, had another one planned for Tahoka, and it got canceled due to a death. And so we did it virtually. And so they're Miss Lemoyne, and they're sending stuff off to them to get it. So we're getting ready for UIL. We did actually go get to compete in CX debate at Ashvermont. It was us in Ashvermont about a week and a half ago, and we were the district champions, and we had Cooper and Abigail advancing on the state, and our other team, Dayton and Ella, will be alternates there. So they will be advancing on the state. Our robotics competed last weekend. They kind of Keith and I sweat. Well, they basically have a Lone Star Cup of things, and they give you points for all of these things to make it, and they give you scores throughout the day. You get judged on all these different criteria. How our kids were definitely dressed the best, had the neatest setup as far as the tent goes, and then the robotics competition matters some, but I've done it for 2. It's right up there, as I mentioned in the meeting before, with cheerleading. I know nothing about that. I just know we won the Inspire Award, so that we were the best team overall based upon the whole package. We did not win we were in the final parent. We did not win. We finished. We would advance, and we did not win the overall robotics deal. We advance on. Keith, I'll leave any detail or anything out to clarify that. It's really neat, but we didn't know till the end if we were going to advance or not, and so they they have a spreadsheet. Have they shared that with us?
Yeah, it's 32 points above any other team.
Yeah, so but it was pretty. Once we didn't win the robotics part, we're counting on that Inspire Award to get out. So you're right, we did, and so the competition part. So really neat. Proud of them. They'll be advancing on to regional next week. Basketball rolling this week. Lady Jays won by district. They'll play tomorrow night in Gym Net at 6 o'clock. Sent out a notice today. All tickets are digital. If you guys have your passes, you can use those, but all tickets are online and digital through Gym Net. I shared that link today. Jaybirds won district last night, their fourth in a row, and we'll be playing back at Stanford against Knox City next week on Tuesday. As far as my portion goes with the classroom, I'm finishing up T-test evaluations of teachers. Got one more to go. Got one done today. Got one more to go. Have that finished up. And so in the March meeting, we'll be completely caught up and within our standard for an evaluation over 3 years, which would match that. I'll have all those done so that we can make recommendations on teachers for next year. As I mentioned, the upcoming events, we have basketball Thursday and Friday. I left that one out. We do have a Jaybirds, a high school boys game. We're playing West Texas at 2:30 p.m. in Canyon Randall before we get to our playoff preview at Canyon Randall. So those are the things that are going on. We'll be having academic UIL in March and a lot of other things going on, but it gets January, February, not too busy, but about to get really busy. So that's all I got. You have any questions for me? Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move to the superintendent report.
Yeah, so in the interest of our learning as a team, screen there, you'll see the Texas Promise. When Guthrie hired me to be their superintendent in 2009, I had for a long time been a non-fan of the state accountability system and standardized testing because I didn't think it captured actually who our kids are and much of what's important. And so she told me one morning over coffee, she said, well, I think you need to let your voice be heard. And then I started complaining some more about things. And she said, I think you need to let your voice be heard. And then I started complaining some more about things. And she said, well, maybe you need to let your voice be heard. I kept making excuses. And finally, she got it across to me, shut up and do something, And so I started digging, and there was a group of superintendents in Texas back around 2000, about that time, that had come together and thought we can do better. We can do better as schools. And so they created what they call the first visioning document. And that was the foundation by which we started doing a lot of innovative and interesting things in the interest of developing the whole child. The State Superintendent Association has just gone through a process of redoing that visioning document that was 15 years old. And so that is that. So here's my point to you. And you all, last month, you made the mistake of saying we'd like for Nelson to stay on for a little while. So now you're going to pay for it. We have to think of our children through the lens of whole people and what's best for their future. And this part of this connects kind of to what Samantha was saying earlier too. The TEA and the legislature has a view of what schools should look like, and it's generally compliance-based, mandated stuff. The school leaders, the superintendents in the state, have a different view of what schools should look at, and that's it. That Texas Promise is what the school superintendents think we can do better in making everything compliance-based and only about standardized testing. And so I invite you to take a look at that sum. I mean, they capture it nicely in those big pieces. And in our framework of our board meetings, since I've been with you, I think you probably noticed that I have it batched in 3 areas: safe, orderly, and nurturing schools, learning optimization, and effective and efficient learning environments. And so they've picked 7, but the bottom line is this: we aim higher. We aim higher. And as long as I'm working, as I was visiting with a lot of friends today at that funeral, people from my past 50 years, what I want for this place is to be the gold standard. I want every parent in this state to think, man, I wish I could put my kids or my grandkids in that school. That's what I want. Okay,
I'm gonna say your vision has some success from the two reports we just heard about our group of cheerleading kids in our robotics class.
I know.
Not first place robotics, not first place cheerleading, but
I know.
what did they do? That's
I know.
what we want.
I know.
That's better than winning first.
Whole people. Okay, so as I do in every board meeting, I want to say thanks to all of you all, and in this time in particular to Roy and BJ. I was drawn up tight, worrying that they wouldn't turn in there, and BJ was made us wait longer than we should have. But I'm thankful that you guys turned in your packets, and not that I dislike anybody else in the community, but I'm thankful that we don't have to have a board election. It seems like we have, at least for the last several months, achieved some degree of harmony, which I think allows for us, for those that were here to hear Dr. Ben Edwards on Wednesday. He made the point, which I've been aware of for a while, the research that supports what we think has an impact on our health and on the health of the organization. The way we think has an impact. It can either be toward harmony and love and collaboration, or it can be toward disharmony and dissension. So the way this group of 8 works has everything to do with the way this school functions. Thank you for your service. I'm so thankful for the teachers that keep the gates at ball games. They get no money for that. They just keep showing up, and I'm thankful. I do want to say, yeah, go ahead, Roy.
Including you. I saw you take somebody's spot.
So,
down there at
thank
basketball
you.
game.
When I was the principal of those 6A schools, one of them I had 9 assistant principals, and one of them I had 5 assistant principals. But what I used to say to them was, if we cannot model it, we cannot demand it. So that's why I do that stuff. I can keep gate, and I get to visit with people in there. I'm thankful to Dr. Chanda Block in Hamlin, because this is the 3rd year running they've allowed us to call their baseball and softball field our home field. Maybe next year we'll have a place to call them. Well, maybe we'll let them come over and play on our. I don't know. The maintenance team has been just doing bang up work all year long. It seems like every month when we meet, I'm praising them, but they did yeoman's work in those days that we lost to weather, and keeping things running while we were not here, and then having it ready for us to get in the building, get going where we were. Jacqueline Carson was sick 4 days out of last week. And so Kim Ann and Samantha just fell in there, and they took care of breakfast and lunch, and they did a marvelous job. And I'm thankful for them. John and Connie are faithful to show up whenever. John runs the clock in football and basketball. Connie shows up and runs the book a lot in basketball games. And again, they don't get paid. It's just because they love this place and these kids. Jamie was very helpful in the bad weather stuff, running roads, and helping me as we were trying to make decisions on when to start or if to have school. You may or may not know it, but Ruben Martinez shows up like at 4 o'clock every morning. And this is not common among schools. It is not small schools. And I mean, he vacuums, he cleans windows, he wipes seats, and our vehicle's ready to go. I mean,
enough gas.
Yeah, gas and diesel, and to my knowledge, he doesn't put, what's that stuff they put in the diesel thing? Yeah, he puts it in the right vehicles. It seems like, which has not always been the case. Safety and Health Committee folks, Kayla, Darla, Amber, Jace, BJ, and John Reynolds helped me. One of my failings, I get a letter or an email from the state, some division of the state every week telling me I screwed something up. And so I'm in a constant state of corrective actions, and they helped me on the corrective action of our safety stuff. Leella, at the basketball games, we have students do the national anthems, which is not common either. I think it's a very special thing, and she's the one that always makes that happen. She's sort of like a chihuahua, you know? She's not terribly dangerous, but she just won't leave you alone till you do what you want her to. Tony, Darla, and Jamie did a very nice job in January of getting senior transcripts in their hands so they could actually pursue some of the scholarships. And then Little Dribblers are in full force now, and summer track will be firing up soon. And I'm thankful for the people that's purely volunteer, the people that show up and do and help coach those kids and carry them and stuff. And we are blessed. We have 8 seniors that have 24 or more hours of college credit in their pocket already. And so some of you are parents of those, which means you don't have to pay for a year of college, and you don't have to pay for a year of housing and stuff. Good for you. And in your case, it's almost, well, it is, I guess he'll start as mid-junior, 56 hours under the belt. Or I'm not, no. No, it's Samantha's.
He's graduating.
56 hours.
He's 64.
64.
64.
So that's,
He has an associate. He'll graduate in May.
Wow.
With his
okay.
associates.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking Garrison.
One of those big guys.
Yeah. Well, that's big. So on Thursday, January 29th, we had 6 basketball teams involved in games in 2 different places, and we won 10-0. That not many things happen at the school that have not happened to me because I'm that old, but that had never happened to me before. I have a 10-0 in one day. So cool. Board election next steps at our next meeting, which we have scheduled for March the 9th. I hope that holds, but if I don't know what happens with basketball playoffs, there could be a complication there. So we might end up doing what we did this week and shuffling. But our next election board meeting is scheduled on March 9th, and we'll take formal action to declare Roy and BJ as winners and cancel the May election that we had planned. The new activity bus went into service last Thursday with the one-act play. Jamie drove them over to Snyder. Hey, man, that's a nice ride. I rode with the girls to Stanford the other night. Man, that's a nice ride. Track and field record display. Rory Mosley is in process. Our normal plaque and trophy vendors didn't want to touch the great big plaque that we had been talking about. And Rory, I didn't know he was a furniture and cabinet maker. And Kevin put me onto that, and Rory has agreed to build the background, the wooden part of that. And so that thing is finally gonna happen. In your board packet, I want to open this up for you. Dr. Mike Moses was the Commissioner of Education back in the early 90s. And back when he was the commissioner, he got in the habit of collecting and condensing state data about the public schools of Texas. So if you look at that annual report in your board packet, it's a very nice little synopsis of how many schools, how many kids are in public schools, how many counties have public schools. Some interesting data there that you might normally let your eyes drift across. Something that hit my inbox last week was TEA guidance on how to handle student walkouts. This was in relation to the stuff going on in Minneapolis, and it brought back some terrible memories that I had back when I was working in Austin. I dealt with a similar when there was a lot of disarray. I forgot what the antecedent was, but we had students, my campus didn't, all the other campuses in our district had students leaving and carrying the Mexican flag. And I don't remember why they were carrying the Mexican flag, but this would have been like 2005, 6, something like that. But that's trickier than you would think if kids just decide to take off out of school and walk down the street. That introduces a lot of problems. But we haven't had to deal with it here. Calendar contortions. There's not a calendar amendment on tonight's agenda because we may not be through mushing the calendar, and rather than doing it every board meeting, we'll just wait till the next one. I think we'll know by March the 9th. We could lose some more time to weather, and yesterday or day before, James, whenever we lost water, there was some question whether we could finish the school day or not. But that's always a possibility, and then basketball playoffs could possibly cause us to have to adjust the calendar again. The Biza and Snyder properties, Judge Coulter, I've asked him to put the county on that. When I left here in 2002, I knew we needed to do something in the gymnasium to make it more accessible for handicapped and old people. And I keep looking. Structurally, there's some real challenges there, but I want to try to modify the getting up in the bleachers on both sides if we can, to make it a little easier for some of our folks that are on walkers or having trouble. I think there's a solution, but I'm not sure it's going to be an easy one. I met with Jamie, Ms. Carpenter, Coach Chisholm, and Coach Josh Stanland a couple of weeks ago. Last year, you may or may not remember, we had such trouble trying to schedule our academic trip and our NHS trip, and looking at the calendar again. So we kind of worked as a task force to come up with some solution that we thought might work better. And the solution, and I put it in your board packet, is sort of to blend those two things together and get on a 3-year rotation, where in 1 year we head to the coast, 1 year we head to the mountains, and in the 3rd year we go somewhere big like New York or Washington, D.C. or something, and kind of blend the academic trip with the NHS trip. That has generated a subsequent conversation, about funding. The NHS has been in fundraising mode to pay for their trip over the years. So in my mind, some combination of the funding to match the combination of the blending of the trips. But what the goal is to try to have these nice trips, which I think have great instructional learning value, but not have them after school is out in the summer. Try to get them done during the school year. And so that's the intent. I have been in conversations on this Rural Pathways to Excellence. This is money that the state of Texas has thrown the legislature through. They put a lot of money into stuff this spring, and we're just now digging into it. I've mentioned to you all the conversations I've been having about possible private school partnerships, basically in the interest of us keeping more money to serve our kids. I've been in conversations with charter folks. In fact, Samantha's boss is the Pearson Group is one that I've had 2 conversations with, and we'll have another one next month. They're itching to be partners with us, and so I'm trying to flesh out all the nuances and costs and benefits to that. Zach Morris over at Aspermont asked me last week if I would sit in on a meeting with them out of Region 14, and that's this money, this Rural Pathways money. There are several models of this around the state. The most notable one is in the coastal Bend area. It's called the Rural Innovation Zone. You may have come across that in some of your work. It's when a group of small districts that, for instance, is as an example, a lot of current technology stuff has pretty high cost from an infrastructure perspective. For instance, auto tech. To put an auto tech lab together costs some money, because you're talking about lifts and tools and all that stuff. So for us to do that here and us have 2 or 3 students do it, probably not. But if you can get a band of 6, 8 rural schools that are reasonably close together, maybe you can justify doing that. The same thing with healthcare kinds of stuff. And So there's a lot of money in the interest of workforce development that the state's trying to push, large and small districts, but particularly rural districts, because we've kind of been out of that game until we can get partnerships together. Darla's not here tonight, but Lacey and she and the leadership team met with the new president from Western Texas College, Dr. Laurie Sharp, and I'll be over there all day tomorrow for another big powwow, in which they're trying to win back some of our business. They've lost a bunch of it over the last few years to South Plains College. But what they're doing now too is bundling some of this dual credit stuff into the career and technology stuff. For instance, they're now offering dual credit classes toward CDL licensing. And so they're combining the career and technology stuff with the dual credit stuff. So they get the weighted grading. They're in that career pathway, which means more money flows to us if we've got those students in those pathways. But I guess my point is, y'all are looking at me like, this guy's from outer space. There's a lot of possibilities, partnerships, collaborations. And so I'm interested in doing those things. As I've told you, I want our kids to be well positioned 20 years from now to, give me the right amount of medicine or whatever. But I want them to be happy, productive, and successful. And it's getting harder and harder to predict what that looks like. But one thing I'm pretty certain of, and there's not a week that goes by that I don't read another article about how the artificial intelligence is encroaching on the white collar workforce. And so I think we have to think of it as not this or that, but a yes and approach. Dancing with the Bear, I referenced this a little bit earlier. Lacey and Jacqueline and them more than me, are dealing with round 3 of should I say it? Cafeteria audit. I may have jinxed us, and so we're trying to get that right. And as I've told them and anybody else that listens, I've been doing this for almost 50 years, and I do not know of a single school district that they shut down because they served 1/8 of a cup of the wrong amount of vegetables. But we're going to play the game. We're going to play the game. Hazard mitigation, it's a big thing, safety thing. And when we met Monday on our professional development day, we spent time as a team talking about how to enhance the safety and be more situationally aware when we're taking kids, especially off campus, but also even, holy cow, people just walking on campus and shooting kids up. Like state, I got an email about 3 weeks ago from the State Library and Archives that some report that didn't get done last year. And it's just one thing after another, but it's all dancing with the bear. Okay, that's it, Cody. I'm gonna shut up. Unless you got questions for me about that stuff.
Next, we'll move on to action item, consider whether or not by record vote to adopt policy resolution described by section 25.0823A-1, Education Code designating time to each school day for a period of prayer and reading of religious texts for Senate Bill 11 of the 89th Texas Legislature.
So I've given you a warning for at least 2 weeks, maybe more than that, about this, and it's coming. I was at a superintendent meeting, not this month, but the month before, and they took a poll. Not a single superintendent in our region was for it. So, but the legislature says we got to vote to either opt in or opt out, and every one of you's name has to be attached to your vote. So we need a motion to either designate a time of prayer and religious text reading, or opt not to. And then Kenzie needs to record how each one of you vote on that motion. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Understood. So we'll need a motion.
I make a motion that we opt out on securing a certain time for prayer during the day.
I will second.
Favor?
Can I add discussion?
Yes.
Can we remind our students that they have that freedom
Oh.
as it is now? If we're voting against this to opt out, I want to make sure that our students are reminded that they have the freedom
Absolutely.
to do those things, and because that's the basis of the decision we're making.
Absolutely.
Is
Whenever not designated as.
Yeah, that's not-
They'll get in trouble for it.
right.
Stephanie makes a motion, Kinsey seconds, all in favor?
That was easy.
Yeah.
She plays the piano exactly like she types.
I'm more accurate typing.
We would listen
Still
to
play
practice the
slow.
piano at 6 a.m. and I.
Okay,
do that.
so I've got the motion to opt out, and then I've got a discussion note that the board opted out of the resolution, but reiterated that students could be reminded they have the right to pray and read religious text during school. Okay.
Fair enough.
Thanks for that
Thank you.
reminder. That's very good.
Did you say that each one of our names need to be down there particularly and?
She, I think
That's-
she's
yeah,
got.
I think that'll do it.
All right, next we'll move to action item, consider revision of policy EIC local.
EIC local, and this is,
Local As it relates to calculation of honors classroom.
and this is the one that Samantha spoke to in the public comments earlier. And I don't, she may or may not be aware, we've been talking about this for months. We are still waiting on, the legislature last spring directed the commissioner to come up with standardized rules across the state. Evidently, this conversation has been had in other school board meetings and with legislators. And so it generated some desire for some kind of a standardized calculation formatting. We're still waiting on the commissioner's rules. This revision has to do only with the part that we've talked about before, where it was in our policy that we were going to reduce the grade of students in some special ed classes, which well outside the bounds of legality. So we're fixing that right now, just for legal purposes. Once we hear the commissioner's new rules, then we will visit some of the things. And I've shared Samantha's thoughts too. You've heard me say it before. Some of the most powerful lessons we teach, I believe, are on the field and courts of play about being successful in life, and why we would not even count that in calculations. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of other conversations that won't be had about that. But tonight we're just fixing the legal part.
Everybody good with that?
I'll make a motion. We accept the revisions as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Jim makes a motion, Andy seconds.
Thank you very much for that. Technology, Keith, put that up there. If I'm not sure.
The bond update, there's not a whole lot that we really added and spent in it, just some small stuff here and there. You know, we had to repair our surveillance camera system before we could get our new one installed, because it went down. We had to keep something up and running, and so we did that and a few other things in there. Our Apogee renewal for a website. Got a camera for your book. Those are basically the things there. The other things we're doing with technology is, y'all did approve that already to update and upgrade the lights, sound and video in the auditorium. And then we also had to do an electrical quote for upgrading the electricity in there too. That is supposed to happen the week before spring break. And then all that other work is supposed to happen during spring break. So that is still on schedule, and as far as I know, it's still gonna happen. Lacey's already, given them half the money so they could order all the parts and supplies to get that project done, so that should be on board and ready to roll, so hopefully it'll be all good. So, anything else?
So that $1 million bond,
We still have 632,000 left.
Okay.
And I am purposely hanging on to chunks of that for future projects, because we don't have to spend it now. And so that will help us with computer replacement and iPads and things like that for going down the road. So,
What, year or so from?
I'm thankful for the thoughtful way you're handling all of this.
thank you.
thanks, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Binger.
Thank you.
Next
On
one.
on the topic of bonds, sorry, Cody, yes, it was today. Was it yesterday or today, the transportation money dropped? Today. So the 1.9 million in the transportation bond, came to our bank accounts today. And would you want to speak to how you handle that money? Do you mind?
It's at Plains Capital Bank and it will be in various CDs depending upon timeline for purchasing new vehicles. Of course, we've already spent 404,000 of it, so that's gotta come back to the general fund tomorrow. So, and then we'll just split it up and have it available as the new vehicles are coming in.
So when we proposed the bond election for that back in the fall, I put together a 3-year plan for replenishment stuff. And so what Lacey will do is buy those CDs and in banker lingo, they call it laddering. You know, she'll put them in different amounts with different maturity dates and stuff to optimize the money for us, basically. Rather than just put it in a coffee can in the backyard. She tries to earn money off of that until we actually need it to buy a bus or something. Okay, now Cody, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. Next, we'll move to discussion item, school calendar process for 2026-27.
I've alluded this to you, and in my communications with you all. It's now time to start thinking about the 26-27 calendar, and my intention is for that to be anybody in this building that wants to add their opinion to it is going to be able to add their opinion to it. And my intention for it is for the process to be sort of like a funnel. You know, it'll start broad, you know, all kinds of great ideas, but at the end of the day, we got to come up with something that we etch in stone. So it'll be a process, but everybody will be invited into that conversation. Everybody will get to look at what others have put in there, and I'll try to make it, and my intention is to do it in a way that's safe for people. A lot of folks, unlike me, I mean, I don't mind saying what I think, but some people get a little nervous about that. So I'm gonna try to make it safe for them to express their opinion, and we'll come up with a school calendar that, and just like the one we're dealing with this year, you know, there was a lot of work that went into that school calendar and it's already got messed up several times. So that's kind of what school calendars are.
We're good with that. Thanks, sir. Next, we'll move to learning optimization for all. Action item, consider administrative contract renewals for Lacey Scoggin, Darla Harrison, and Jamie Humphries.
Yeah, these are the folks on the administrative team. I mean, Jamie and I'm sorry, Keith and I are also on the administrative team, but we're at-will employees. So we don't have contracts. So these are 2-year contracts for Jamie and Lacey and Darla. In education lingo, they're called at Chapter 21 contracts, which gives them the same sort of legal protection that teachers have. We just can't walk in and fire them unless we have good cause. And so I recommend all 3 of them.
Roy makes a motion. I'll second. Cody seconds it. All in favor for renewing those contracts?
Cody, you want to sign those, sir? I think I got the little tab on the right spot.
Okay. Next, we'll move to a discussion on scholarships for degree and or industry credentials for Jayton High School students and graduates.
So more than one of you has, as you saw in your board packet under the financial stuff, is the permanent school fund, which is controlled by the Commissioner's Court. And so more than one of you planted the seed with me. Is there a way for us to access that money and create some sort of a scholarship fund that would basically hold money in escrow. Most school districts, including our own, here it's called the Adolphus Moreland Fund, and it's not really school money, it's a 501, is it C4 or C3? C3. Many schools have what they have, and they call an educational foundation, which is not really budget money, but it's money that gets collected through philanthropy or fundraising and those kinds of things. So my intention, the conversations I've had is to see if there's a way. For instance, the transportation bond that we passed in November. We can't, the commissioners cannot spend money on transportation out of that fund. They can pay debt out of that fund, and so that's why we passed the bond. I'm gonna poke around with the attorneys and see if it's possible to do something similar in the interest of sequestering money purely for scholarshiping. So just a heads up. Let's see about that.
And modeling it
And-
somewhat after like Hamlin's,
Pardon?
modeling, like you said, modeling it somewhat like Hamlin's
Yeah,
after high school.
right. Yeah. Yep.
The foundation conversation has been here.
A lot of
It stayed many years here.
Oh, yeah.
Before in my previous term, and we never settled on anything final.
Yeah.
But money wise, from what I remember, it was possible for the school to put in money one time. But I don't remember what pot it could come from.
Well, and that's,
I
so
think
I
it
did,
had to
I've done
come
a
from
little
fund
poking
balance.
around that, because you're the second person that's mentioned that to me.
Okay,
And that one-time transfer can be done with INS money,
okay,
not permanent school money.
okay.
And so, because that seemed like, I didn't know that, and I thought, man, I need to investigate this, but.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, if it's possible for us to do it, it probably would have to be in the form of a bond measure. But I gotta make sure it's legal for us to do that.
I don't know if there's any precedence there, but I think a lot of the attorneys are gonna tell you don't do that. But I'm
Well,
not so sure we can't do that.
yeah, yeah, and Roy's a wise man, which tells me he's dealt with attorneys before. I mean, their default position is cover your ass, you know, they're not gonna do. They're gonna be. My inclination is to see how close to the edge of the cliff I can walk and get away with it, and their inclination is to see how close to the mountain they can walk.
Right. Yeah.
If we do something, you get in trouble, we will come visit you.
Do not resuscitate me.
They would want us to get in trouble because that
Put
makes
money on
money
your
for them.
commissary account.
If I remember right, we did discuss that in several
Lot.
meetings. And
Yes.
I remember.
We
had-
discussed that in meetings 35 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
And we had to, the problem what it came down to is who's gonna oversee all of it?
Mhm.
The school board can't, as I remember.
And you had to have an employee for the foundation that was not a school employee.
See that and make sure
Can
the
only be
scholarships are
three.
distributed, make sure the credentials are met. That was where we got bogged down, I think.
Yeah.
and,
Which is a lot of
the
detail.
Logistics there.
Well, see, and I had a conversation with Lacey about this, because when I was at Guthrie, we created an education foundation. And there were some people over in King County that had some deep pockets, and they were willing to share with us. And what we did, and I haven't looked at the Adolphus Moreland bylaws yet. But over there, we created the bylaws specifically for the Guthrie kids, that we were paying for college classes that they were taking while they were in school. And we would pay for college classes that they would take up to 4 years after their graduation date. We weren't gonna pay for college until they were 35 years old.
Wanted to go.
And the way we crafted that one, and this was my influence as much as anything, is we didn't hand them the money and say, go to school. We said, you make an A, B, or C on the class, bring us your report card, then we'll reimburse you. We weren't gonna pay for Ds and Fs. And forced them to have a little skin in the game. So, but I've got to look at those Adolphus Moreland things, and then again, if there is a way, even if there's not a way to use permanent school fund, we might. Well, we'll see. One of the things I haven't, I'll just go ahead and say it now, because I know the county judge, and I know at least one of the county commissioners pretty well. We no longer have the ability to negotiate with these people that want to build data centers or windmill farms or solar farms, but the county still does. And as Roy will attest, those people that want those basically tax abatements, don't tell Tub I said that, but they want to make promises about stuff. You know, it's going to be, we're going to guarantee 5 jobs in the county or this kind of stuff. And my thinking is maybe the county might, as a negotiating tool, say, we'll take $1 million into our education fund. Yeah, sales your solar farm. And maybe we can negotiate as partners that way. And that only works if we're good partners with the county. And I think we're in pretty good shape right now in that regard. Okay.
I have to add one thing to that, the rollout, as far as planning, notice the bricks on the walkway coming in to the main school.
Oh, yeah.
That was gonna be, if I wanted to buy a brick with my name on it for $100, you know, that's why the bricks are there. Cause we were actually planning on starting that foundation with selling some bricks, just to put some money in that account, to start the account. I noticed with Childress 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, and there's a bunch of bricks going into their school with, I was like, yeah, I forgot all about that. But ours is just plain red bricks right now, but that was a design, didn't get completed, but that's what we started out, the brick design coming in.
Yep. Well, you know, based on the price of cattle right now too, you know, farmers and ranchers have not been a source of philanthropy in the years since past. We sold 3 of the ugliest calves I've ever raised the other day for $5 a pound, and I'm going, ooh. I told Mo, I don't even want to put them on the trailer. They're that ugly. You know, I thought we just need to let them die, but no. Right.
Everybody kind of like smell of an oil, and you're getting the income, it's not quite so ugly, no.
I do have one question. So like at Roscoe and Hamlin, other than just college afterwards, do they have like industrial, some kind of electrician, trade school?
So, yeah,
that they
so Hamlin, they were on the call with us the other day when Zach Morrison, those Region 14 schools, Hamlin, Rural, Rotan, us. I don't remember but Hamlin has been very innovative. And it actually started with Dr. Randy Burtz when he was part of the Collegiate Education Group. And so they have a CNA, they have a business pathway. I think they may have auto tech. Aspermont's offering welding certification. And Aspermont's offering CNA, certified nursing assistant. But there's a number of those CTE pathways that, again, if you're part of you stand. Wait a minute, I may not be answering your question though.
No, you are.
Okay. So. But that can also be dovetailed in with this conversation about scholarship money too, because if those CTE pathways happen to be, for instance, out of WTC, if it's students that are in a CDL credentialing thing, then if we have scholarship money, and right here now, we're paying for the dual credit classes out of budgeted money. We're doing that. But if there's a way for us to do it, right, in a way that's right, not directly out of our budget money, it's the way we want to do it.
Thank you, sir. Next, we'll move to, an action item, consent items, the minutes of January 19th, 2026 board meeting, the permanent school fund request, and the financial reports.
Yep. Those were all in your packet. By the way, on the financial report stuff that Lacey sends to me, and it's kind of batched together with activity accounts and record payment stuff. If any of you, when you look at that, if you have a question, I go in there and I identify the places that look like hot spots or where you might have questions. But if you do have a question about something, text me or email me and I'll make sure I address it so that everybody's seeing what that money's about or why it looks like it does.
Anybody have any questions over any finances or anything? I was just looking at the permanent school fund, and it seems like everything that's at Ascomont is at a higher interest rate. It's like 4.3, and everything else, all the others, is it at 3.8?
We found that a few times at the county that they pay better. Pays better than theirs there, not always, but.
Would it be smart to move everything there? I mean, it's not good to have all your ducks in one or eggs in one basket, but it's 0.5% interest rate. Seems like a lot.
We're paying better there at one time, but they'd only take so much money.
A lot of those small banks won't take very much at a time.
2 or 3.
Yeah, because that's all right. We'll need a motion to approve the consent items.
Make the motion.
Andy makes a motion.
Second.
BJ seconds, all voted aye. Next we'll move to discussion item review of corrective action regarding the state cafeteria audit.
I've already referenced that in my comments earlier, and so,
Still kicking the bear.
the part of it that I screwed up, I think I got fixed, and now, Lacey and Jacqueline are working on that procurement stuff. Is that the piece?
No, the procurement audit was fine in the beginning. We had to corrective action on the wellness policy, which was accepted.
Yeah.
And then there's still, she found more issues with food production records. And
Okay.
it's not that kids were not being fed, it was, I think what's being put on paper based on the amount of servings was not accurate, and so we have to send them more to look at and that's where we are.
Thank y'all for doing that. We really appreciate it.
It is not the fun part of the job.
And you just got a new 2-year deal to keep doing it. It's the fun person like.
I go into Lacey's office and she goes, I can feel her start tightening up. He's fixing to try to quit the school lunch program.
Thank y'all for that. Next discussion item, the swimming pool site improvement plans.
I've shared this with you before. I dropped the document in there, the vision. I intend for us to do that, and would I intend to keep it in-house? I don't think we need an architect. I don't think we need a construction manager. I think we can get a fencing contractor and help us do that part, get a concrete contractor and help us do that part. And try to make that thing go without paying a lot of ancillary people. It doesn't look like it's gonna be rocket science to me. No, I don't think so. But I'm not trying to pull anything over your eyes. If you got questions about it, ask them of me.
Nope, I think we trust you to make the right judgment. I do. It's
I
trust
don't
everybody.
know many people that
Important.
get ready to build a house and go out and hire contractors and superintendent, full construction and architects.
Yeah, I had a superintendent call me yesterday asking about a housing contractor.
All right. Anybody else have anything else? Yes, we'll need a motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion. Andy makes a motion to adjourn. Then Roy seconds it, all in favor?
Thank you all for your confidence.
Thanks for making